Ever opened an old tin box and found a recipe written in fading blue ink? Nan's Christmas pudding, goose fat potatoes, bread sauce. You can almost smell it, can't you? Coal fire, pine needles, gravy bubbling in an enamel pan. These weren't just meals. They were the soundtrack of family, of laughter in small kitchens, of rationed books and radio carols. So today, we're taking a gentle walk back through time, to remember 15 Christmas recipes every British Nan knew by heart. Each one is a chapter in the story of home. 1. Roast turkey, the feast of plenty. Roast turkey didn't always rule the Christmas table. Before the 1950s, goose and chicken carried the crown. But when rationing ended and wages rose, the turkey became a promise, a golden symbol that Britain had survived the lean years. Families saved for weeks to afford it. Butchers wrote names in pencil on order slips, and Nans everywhere prepared their birds with the same quiet pride. They stuffed them with paxo and garden sage, rubbed dripping into the skin until it shone like varnish, and roasted them slow while carols played from the wireless. The smell drifted through terrace streets long before the Queen's speech. Even now, that scent can summon the feeling of a Christmas where everything, somehow, felt right. 2. Roast goose, the old tradition. Long before turkeys marched into the nation's ovens, the goose was Britain's bird of celebration. It was rich, generous, and unapologetically messy, its fat hissing in trays and turning potatoes into liquid gold. Old cookbooks called goose the true heart of a family feast. For families who remembered rationing, it carried nostalgia, a taste of the times when nothing went to waste. Nan would prick the skin with a fork, baste it faithfully, and save every drop of fat in a jar marked Christmas gold. If turkey was modern Britain's pride, goose was its memory, a link to the centuries before supermarkets and ready meals ever existed. 3. The Christmas chicken, thrift with grace. In smaller homes, chicken was the practical star. A 5-shilling bird that could feed 6, carved carefully by a father at the head of the table. Nan made sure every slice reached a plate, breast for guests, legs for children, wings for anyone who lingered nearby. She seasoned it with salt, pepper, and patience, surrounding it with potatoes browned in dripping. No one called it cheap. It was home on a plate. Because Christmas wasn't about what you could afford. It was about making even the simplest meal feel sacred. 4. Roast potatoes, the crunch heard across Britain. No dish commanded more love than the roast potato. Nan kept her dripping jar beside the stove, solid white fat scooped into trays until the kitchen hissed with promise. Each potato, parboiled and fluffed, crisped into perfection, golden at the edges and soft within. You could hear it before you tasted it, that glorious crack as the fork broke through the crust. The Ministry of Food once called dripping the thrifty cook's secret, but to families across Britain, it was far more. It was the smell of Sunday comfort magnified into Christmas joy. 5. Bread sauce, the humble heart. It was never the star, yet Christmas didn't feel right without it. Bread sauce, that odd, gentle comfort of warm milk, cloves, bay, and an onion half-studded like a tiny Christmas tree. Thickened with breadcrumbs from the week's loaf, stirred with care and never measured. It was the taste of economy turned elegant, of making something from almost nothing. When the spoon touched the plate beside the turkey, the world seemed to exhale, as if Christmas had officially begun. 6. Pigs in blankets, the little luxuries. They arrived late to the table of history, first appearing in women's magazines around 1958. But by the 1960s, they had become national treasures. Chipolatas wrapped in bacon, tucked around the edge of the roasting tin, sizzling in turkey fat. Children waited like thieves for their moment, snatching one before Grace had finished. They were tiny symbols of the new age, when ration books were gone, and joy could come in even the smallest bite. 7. Sage and onion stuffing, the glue of the meal. No packet needed. Nan had the recipe written in her hands. Stale bread grated fine, onions fried in dripping, sage from the garden, and a pinch of salt she never measured. She shaped them into balls, baked the extras separately for those who loved the crispy bits. The smell of sage filled the house hours before the bird emerged. A scent so familiar it felt like a hymn. Even now, One whiff of that mix can pull you straight back to childhood, standing by a warm oven with your heart full and your plate empty. 8. Brussels sprouts, the divisive green. Ah yes, the vegetable Britain could never escape. Sold loose on stalks, muddy and tight-leaved, at threepence a pound. Nan would cross their bases with her paring knife and boil them until just tender, though some boiled them to surrender. Tossed in butter, or chopped chestnuts when times allowed, they brought color to every plate. Half the family grumbled, but Nan insisted. A proper Christmas dinner needs green. And she was right. Even the smell, haunting and familiar, belongs to the season as surely as carols and crackers. 9. Roast parsnips and carrots, the golden companions. In the colder towns of the north, where vegetables were cheaper than meat, these sweet roots often stole the show. Nan brushed them with dripping, or a drizzle of golden syrup, and roasted them until their edges caramelized into amber. They were the unsung heroes, simple, sweet, and comforting. Proof that beauty doesn't need extravagance. When the tray came out, gleaming with glaze and memory, you could smell the moment Christmas reached its peak. 10. Mince pies, sugar and spice in a tin. Flaky pastry, sugared tops, and a filling of sultanas, peel, and brandy. Mince pies were the reward for patience. By the 1950s, meat had vanished from their recipe, replaced with fruit and warmth. Nans made them by the dozen, storing them in biscuit tins that clinked softly whenever someone sneaked one early. The first bite was always the same, sweet, sticky, nostalgic. Each one a memory disguised as dessert. Cinnamon, cloves, and laughter, the smell of home. 11. Christmas pudding, the year's grand finale. Made weeks in advance, stirred with wishes on stir-up Sunday. Nan tied hers in muslin and steamed it for hours until the windows wept with condensation. When the day arrived, she soaked it with brandy, dimmed the lights, and struck a match. Blue flames danced across the pudding like magic itself. Coins hidden inside glinted as spoons dug in, and laughter filled the air. For a few shining seconds, every face glowed. A whole family reflected in the warmth of one timeless flame. 12. Trifle, the crown of color. Layers of sponge fingers soaked in sherry or cherry juice. Jelly cubes trembling beneath custard and cream. Topped with hundreds and thousands or a scatter of tinned fruit. By the 1970s, trifle had become the star of the British table. Cheap, cheerful, and endlessly adaptable. The first spoonful was always messy, always perfect. A reminder that not all beauty needs to be neat. 13. The sherry trifle, for grown-ups only. When the plates were cleared and the Queen's speech long over, Nan brought out her secret version, soaked with Harvey's Bristol cream. It wasn't just dessert. It was quiet rebellion. The jelly set a little softer, the sponge a little richer, the laughter a little louder. It was the adult's turn for indulgence. And for one delicious moment, everyone forgot the cold outside. 14. Sausage rolls and cheese straws, the Boxing Day ritual. Hours later, when everyone swore they couldn't eat another bite, the table transformed into a buffet of leftovers. Sausage rolls, cheese straws, pickles, and the remains of the pudding reappeared like magic. Nan made them from scraps of pastry brushed with egg, baked them in trays by the dozen, and stored them for Boxing Day, when cold sausage rolls, eaten in slippers, somehow tasted better than the feast itself. It wasn't glamour. It was tradition, and that mattered more. 15. Homemade sweets, the final touch of love. In every childhood memory, there's a jar of something sweet. Coconut ice in pink and white stripes, peppermint creams dusted with sugar, and fudge that never quite set but was always perfect anyway. Nan made them with condensed milk, sugar, and patience, the three essential ingredients of kindness. She wrapped them in wax paper and tied them with colored string. Little parcels of love handed to neighbors and grandchildren alike. No one left her house empty-handed, not at Christmas. 16. The iced Christmas cake, Patience made edible. The fruit had been soaking in brandy for days, the smell rich with nutmeg and orange peel. Baked slow and cooled even slower, it was coated in marzipan and thick royal icing that cracked slightly under the knife. On top sat the same tiny plastic robin, used year after year. Each slice tasted of time itself, the first bite patience, the last memory. Wrapped in greaseproof paper, it lasted long after New Year's laughter had faded. It was more than a cake, it was continuity. 17. The Snowball, the quiet moment after. At the end of it all, when the washing up was done and the telly hummed softly, Nan poured her favorite drink, the Snowball. Advocaat and lemonade, pale yellow and glowing like custard under fairy lights. She'd sip it slowly, the last ritual of the day. The laughter dimmed, the fire burned low. And for a brief, gentle moment, the world outside, cold, chaotic, uncertain, simply disappeared. Only the smell of pastry and spice remained. Every one of these recipes carried more than taste. They carried the spirit of a generation that learned how to make plenty from little, how to celebrate without waste, and how to feed not just bodies, but hearts. Before ready meals and delivery apps, there was Nan's kitchen, a place of warmth, care, and quiet mastery. And even now, when we smell roast potatoes or taste brandy in pudding, we aren't just remembering food. We're remembering her. The hands that never needed a cookbook. The heart that never stopped giving. And the Christmases that made us who we are.